This anime is pretty edgy. I think it displays some of the worst of human behavior and really delves into the depths of our sin. That's why I have not decided to call this a Christian anime, because while I think this show has an interesting commentary on morality and how we as Christians should respond to that, again, there's some really disturbing and quite brutal stuff that happens in this anime. With that being said, welcome to Psychopaths, and what exactly is a psychopath? This world is governed by the Sibyl System, which can quantify and measure a person's inner thoughts, an individual's personal desires, and one's very soul. That unit of measurement is a person's psychopath. So one of the applications of this is that the Sibyl System can calculate what career you're most likely to succeed in after completing a test. Now, how's that any different from a career counseling system or most education systems around the world? It's more than a standardized test. It's an objective calculation conducted by this AI system as to which career is going to be the most emotionally fulfilling to you and will bring you the greatest of happiness. What's more mind-blowing about this concept is that everyone in Japanese society at this point has placed their trust in this AI system, that the society in this anime has decided to delegate the question of what brings a person purpose and happiness to an artificial intelligence. I think it's one of the great moral dilemmas of this anime, and it's so cool to rewatch this 2013 anime in a time where the role of AI in our society is now so scrutinized by not only some of the largest companies in the world, but also by global governments. Nowhere is this dilemma greatest accentuated than in the use of this AI Sibyl system in law enforcement, because the implication is that the society has delegated the production of safety, security, and the very concept of justice to this artificial intelligence. One of the great appeals of this anime is that we look at this world through the eyes of a person who's in law enforcement. Akane Tsunemori, who's young, naive, and unfortunately has to respond to an incredibly serious incident right on her first day. I should mention now that the psychopath is also an indication of one's mental health, and the extension of that is how likely someone is to commit crime as a result of that mental health. Now, this has some serious implications to Psychopath's story, because even witnessing a crime or being a victim of a crime is enough to raise someone's crime coefficient, which is part of the Psychopath's calculation. So, one of the first cases involves this victim of a kidnapping who's unfortunately, because she was forced to endure this criminal's unsavory activities, as a result of this, her mental health decreases, which increases her crime coefficient, and as a result, she's judged by the Sibyl system as being unable to receive any further treatment to reverse her mental condition. Instead of saving her, the more experienced officers try to execute her on the spot. This continues on throughout the anime. How much do the main characters trust the supposedly objective calculation? In this, there are some really good questions of philosophy, and is this system still allowing its citizens to operate with free will? Is it free will if you choose to follow what the Sibyl system has said will bring you the greatest level of satisfaction and happiness? Rather, would you exercise your free will to defy what this artificial intelligence has already calculated for you? Would you instead delve into the depths of your heart and commit the greatest of sins? So that's the key theme I want to focus on for the rest of the video, because this Sibyl system actually has a couple of parallels with how God works, but even in its similarities with God, we can see how greatly lacking this human-created system is compared to the personal and loving relationship that God calls us to. What I want to discuss is this idea of thought crimes, which is coined in George Orwell's 1984. The Sibyl system has a massive amount of infrastructure to support the continuous surveillance of not people themselves, but to instead engage the monitoring of their mental health. So a scanner can tell you, oh, you should probably seek therapy before your mental health worsens, because you're more likely to commit crime and be violent if your mental health does become worse. It's a similar way to how Jesus talks about sin. The Mosaic law gives these edicts such as you shall not murder and you shall not commit adultery, but Jesus challenges us further that if we are angry with a brother or sister, or if we look at another person with lust, then we have already committed murder and adultery in our hearts. The thought of doing sin is enough for us to be guilty under the Mosaic law. The difference between Jesus and Sibyl being that Sibyl and the law given to Moses only brings judgment. We are rightfully judged for our sin, and in Psychopaths, there is this strenuous and bureaucratic method of rehabilitation that doesn't even guarantee that you'll be freed back into normal life. But what's worse is that the system is capable of bringing you to justice not only by incapacitating you in order to be arrested, but also by executing you without a trial. I have to make this really clear for those who are non-believers, but I strongly believe that the Sibyl system actually brings rightful judgment to those who sin, because that's the standard given by the Mosaic law. However, with Jesus, it's so different with the love and forgiveness he brings. He simply brings this message of repentance, meaning a life turning away from sin and repositioning your trust and life to Christ. If you want to continue in your sin, Jesus isn't stopping you, and you will have to give an account on the day of judgment. Under the Sibyl system and any other imperfect human system, there is no adequate method of repentance. However, because Jesus has paid the cost of your sin, because he suffered and died on the cross, we can accept his gift of grace and enter into relationship with him, not only in this life, but forevermore. Sibyl may be the perfect system, and it may have created for Japan an incredible standard of living in which its citizens can live in prosperity, safety, and security. Though no one is worshipping Sibyl. Without God, there is no true meaning that one can fulfill. In heaven, we actually have someone to worship. The image described to us by John in Revelation is a world where every tear has been wiped away, where there is no longer death, mourning, crying, or pain. A state of affairs that Sibyl and any other human system can never reproduce. The complete removal of sin, actually, we see in Psychopaths is something that cannot be emulated in the real world, but because of the love our God has shown to us by dying on the cross, we too can reciprocate that love through our worship of him. In summary, I do have a lot to like about this anime because it's such a compelling story with really brilliant characters. I think this is another case of anime producing a superior female main character than what Hollywood could, because this anime recognizes Akane's weakness in comparison to her hardened male colleagues. She struggles and she fights through it, and her female traits being accentuated in her emotions and judgments makes for Psychopaths being a seriously compelling narrative. So coming back to my disclaimer at the start, this anime is certainly not for the faint of heart. I'm definitely aware of more provocative anime, but the level of violence, gore, and brutality shown in Psychopaths, I think, makes its story more real, but I do strongly suggest you follow your conscience on this. There's also a lot of partial nudity in this, and sadly the inclusion of a same-sex relationship, so again, proceed with discretion. I do really like the world building because there's small details here and there that just makes this future version of Japan so real. That's also the thing, which is the show doesn't spend a lot of time on these details, but it shows that there's been thought over the different pieces of future technology that these characters would use in the future. So in saying that, if you are interested in a similar show that takes on the same level of care in its world building and storytelling, Sousou no Frieren is one such Christian anime that I've previously recommended, but also does the same.